Hello and welcome to the Careers Beyond Teaching podcast, the show where we aim to showcase where a career in teaching can take you. In today's episode, I interview Sam Moinet. He was a history teacher for 5 years before breaking away and setting up his own company, Student Breakthrough, which is a coaching company that aims to empower young people to achieve success. Sam Moinet.
Sam Moinet.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, we're live now?
Yeah, well, I guess.
Okay, cool.
At some point we're live.
Yeah, nice, man.
Thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it.
All good.
I'll do the intro before this point, so I won't introduce you. But I'll start at the beginning with what got you into teaching.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me. I've never done an in-person podcast. It's really cool.
Did you do it all on Zoom?
All my podcasts I've recorded, I've been on Zoom.
That's nice.
So this is actually really special.
Okay, good.
So yeah, my story at how I got into teaching was I never wanted to be a teacher.
Oh.
I know some people have got the dream from they're 10 years old, I want to be a teacher. For me, I always wanted to be a soldier. My dad was a Royal Marine Commander, fought in the Falklands. I'm his oldest son. And I was the least confident kid, constantly comparing myself to others. And I looked up to my dad, and who's this tattooed, Royal Marine, proper macho guy. And I made the decision then, about 10 years old, to join the British Army. And I was blindly
10.
I was 10 years old. I want to be a soldier.
Okay.
And yeah, I was blindly focused on this. And at university, I got a bit more serious, and I was waking up and being ridiculously hungover and training non-stop, for fitness tests and stuff. And I did my initial test for the army, and in 2012, after graduating, I achieved my dream. And I got a letter through the post, and I was literally waiting by the letterbox, right? Slide through the door. I run over, pick it up, and it said, "Sam, we'd love to have you in the Royal Anglia Regiment of the British Army." And I ran up to my dad, I hug him. It was a really proud moment. I felt like I'd achieved everything. That was what I wanted to do. But a few weeks later, life threw me a curveball. And that curveball was Crohn's disease. So I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I wasn't in the best health. And the army basically said, "No, not for 3 years. But this thing is incurable. There's no, you can't just get cured of Crohn's. It's just, you just deal with it or manage it." I mean, you might be able to, but all the armed forces were off the cards. So when I got that news, I got another letter through the post. I literally collapsed on the floor and cried. Because technically, my life's work up to that point has now been taken away. And I just went down the shop, bought a load of fags, load of body, and just drank and cried. I was 21 years old. I just graduated as well. What am I going to do now? So that kind of led me on a path of a lot of anxiety, challenges in my mental health. And basically how I got into teaching was, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I loved history. My mum was a teacher. My parents had set up nursery schools, a little link to education. But for me, I was like, let's just get some skills for 2 years and then shoot off. So that's kind of how I got into it. It was all by accident, really.
Wow, okay, thanks for being so honest. First of all, thanks for sharing so much. So when you went into teaching, it was essentially, was it meant to fill that void, or was it just something to get going?
It was something to get going. My little brother, who taught primary, was the same thing. We come from a background, my mum was a primary school teacher, they then set up nursery schools. So we've been in that space, but yeah, it was totally I didn't want to do it, it was just something to fill the gap.
Okay.
But also I knew it was a respected profession, I knew it would give me skills, I knew I could transfer those skills and go abroad if I wanted to. It's like life skills, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to probably talk about my business. If that one, tits up, I can go be a history teacher.
Yeah.
So it gives you that base, I think.
Gives you a security in a way.
100%.
Yeah, but how did you find it once you started? How did you find the actual teaching? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed parts of it, but I really hated it.
You hated it?
Yeah, I hated it, man. Because the reason I hated it wasn't because of the kids or what I did. I hated it because I was kind of hating myself.
Okay.
Because I felt like a victim. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I let my family down, my dad down, myself down. I always remember being in my classroom. I was like, if some army officer knocks on my door and said, "Hey Sam, do you want to join?" I'd have sprinted out. I'd say, "Hey kids, see ya, boo."
Had a bit of imposter syndrome, maybe, or
a little bit. It was more just I wasn't owning. I wasn't taking responsibility for what happened.
Okay.
Like I was blaming myself having Crohn's. I was blaming myself, like, constantly blaming, and this started to unravel with my mental health.
Yeah.
I developed real bad anxiety. The thing for me was with the anxiety, I just couldn't sleep.
Okay.
So I developed chronic insomnia, where I'd roll into school on like half an hour of sleep. I'd be marking papers at like 2 a.m. And this led to me basically being really emotional. And I remember class of year 11, 30 kids. I've got money. Yeah, class of year 11, 30 kids. And I was turning away from the board, turning away to write on the board, not because I was writing on the board, it's because I was welling up. Like I was crying. You know, I was in bits. And some of the nicer kids asked me if I'm okay, and that got me more emotional. It was at that point I realised that I needed to get some help.
Okay.
So yeah, basically I started off just really, I enjoyed it, but I was also personally I was in a bad place, so I couldn't really give my all to it.
I guess, how do you come back from planning to take your life in one direction and having such purpose and meaning behind that, and then feeling like that door's closed to you? Like, that is a lot to process. You can't just move on from that without addressing it, I guess.
Well, I've done lots of coaching and therapy since. Like I've just finished a grief recovery course, which is helping people with loss, because we never deal with loss. Like that was a huge loss for me.
Yeah.
And when I went into this course, I thought grief is all about death and and losing people that you're close to, but it's loss of any kind. Like that's a loss of a dream.
Yeah.
And I didn't deal with it very well, but I didn't know how to. And I was a young man, and looking up to my macho dad, we don't show emotion, right? We don't cry. We're not vulnerable. We pull our socks up, we man up, we front up, whatever. So I was all just bottling up, basically, like inside, like bubbling under the surface, just high anxiety.
It's like almost quite a militant reaction to just think, I'm gonna push through, I'm gonna go as teacher, I'm gonna do something rather than deal with it 100%. You're talking about therapy.
Yep.
And you're talking about coaching.
Yep.
Your student breakthrough mostly is involved in coaching.
Correct.
Yeah. What is coaching? What is the difference between it and therapy?
Yeah.
How has it helped you, and how specifically did it help you?
So it helped me in that moment. So when you're at the bottom of the mountain, right, there is technically only one way up. Which at that point I was at the bottom. You know, I wasn't sleeping. My relationships were awful. Wasn't enjoying my job. Couldn't get out of bed. Right. Sometimes I couldn't go to school because I was so anxious I couldn't get out of bed. So one day my friend said, I know this guy. He's a coach. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, what, a coach for football or rugby or cricket?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, this guy's a coach for how you feel and your mindset. And you know what? When you're that desperate and you're that low, it's like, I'm just going to give it a shot. And I just spoke to this guy on the phone, half an hour, sat in my bedroom, and I sobbed like a baby. Because basically, for the first time, he asked me some questions, or someone asked me some questions, and for the first time in my life, right, at 24, I actually shared what was going on for me.
Yeah.
Which was, I'm miserable, I'm anxious, I can't do this. And it was just talking is just the biggest release. Now for the coaches I train, we call it the lamppost test, where if you have a session with a client, you don't think it's gone that well, if that person was to go outside and chat to a lamppost, just talk about their problems, it's going to benefit them. And for me in that moment, talking about my problems was like a huge awareness. The other thing I learned that day was the 23rd of April 2015, this coaching session. It's ingrained in my brain. Other thing I learned was that the dream of the army was actually just for my dad. Like, I didn't want to do that. I'd also realised that he was proud of me anyway, he loved me anyway. And I always say this to kids, like, express, don't suppress. That's what I learned. Express, don't suppress. Like, talk about stuff. It's difficult because it makes you feel better. And I finished that call, put my drum and bass on, walked around the park in Milton Keynes, and it was like the park was technicoloured. It was like taking your sunglasses off, right? It was like,
yeah.
And coaching really, if I go back to your question, it's just empowering people to be the best version of themselves that focuses on the present moment and the future. All right. So therapy and counselling is traditionally about the past. Coaching is very much like, okay, well, what about the present? How can we move forward in the future, and what action steps can we take to get there? So it's like a faster process, and I think a more positive one as well.
Okay, cool. And So student breakthrough, I've seen you have courses for students. You do stuff for students, but also for teachers and adults who want coaching themselves, or even courses to become a coach.
Yeah.
You still have coaching sessions now? Something that you think everyone should do? Like people should.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been coached since that day. I've been coached by, God knows, probably over 10 people, different mentors. Like, you've got to keep learning from people who are above you. And coaching is different. Like, some coaches, it's a bit of a cowboy industry. It's unregulated. So, like, Rob, you can go and call yourself a coach and crack on. Right? It's very, if you want to do that, make some money. Yeah, literally. Like, there's a great Peep Show episode. I don't know if you watch Peep Show, about one of the characters basically just prints off a coaching certificate.
Yes.
Right, and like calls himself a life coach. And it is a bit cringe. It's an unregulated industry. I've got a friend who's a great entrepreneur, and he's going to create a show called The Coachspiracy.
Okay.
He's basically shining the light on, Netflix. He's kind of shining the light on the coaching industry, because it's unregulated. So, but you've got to learn from different people, and some coaches are very direct, and some me, I just kind of sit back and ask questions. But that moment was transformational, because it helped me with my mental health. And at that moment, I went back into school and I went all in. All in education, and I really fell in love with it.
But I mean, you're talking about, so you say coaching is unregulated, but you've still managed to sort of build what you have done, and your website looks amazing, all of the work you're doing looks amazing. At what point did you think that you wanted to become a coach and you wanted to set it up the way that you have?
Yeah, well, it's when I went back into school. So after this 23rd of April 2015, big transformation. One of my mentors just said this great quote to me recently, that transformation is not a spectator sport, which I love. Like, if you want to change your life, you've got to do something about it. You can't sit on the sidelines. So I had this amazing experience, went back into school, went all in on teaching, got great actual results with my kids. Students started loving my lessons. I just felt like alive for the first time in the classroom. Like, oh my God, I actually really love this. Which is weird, because I hate it.
But I'm so sorry, but the coaching conversation didn't make you realise that you don't want to do it?
No, it was more like, I've released all this pain, now I can go and serve others.
Okay, wow, okay.
Which is cool.
Freed up some space.
Oh, 100%, so I got some help for my sleep and other things. But I went back to school and I started seeing students who were like me. Anxious, not confident at school, not motivated, depressed. And there wasn't enough time or the right type of support to help them. So I always get my ideas before my head hits the pillow, right? When our brains are quiet and at ease, that's when our ideas come.
Yeah.
And just one night, I had a glass of red wine, I was about to hit the pillow, and this idea hit me. If you read a great book, Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic, she talks a little bit deep about the ideas within the universe, and some of them, if you listen to this, you might have had a business idea and it's come to you and you might not have acted on it. Elizabeth Gilbert would say that idea has gone to someone else and it will flourish somewhere. So I got hit with this idea. What if I could coach students in their mental health? And I ran with it. So I did loads of stuff. I was like, do I do acceptance and commitment therapy? Do I go into child psychology, child counselling? And then I realised that, well, that coaching experience helped me, so why can't I do coaching? And I became an academic life coach, because it was an American company out of Portland, Oregon. And I used to finish my school day on Monday at 3 p.m, jump on those calls, 6-month course, and I fell in love with it.
Cool. And so how long were you actually juggling teaching with essentially building this whole skill set?
So I started that training in April 2017. I finished it in October 2017.
Okay.
When I went back that last year, so my last year of teaching was 17, 18.
Yeah.
When I went back that year, I already knew I was out. Like, I didn't tell anyone, but I knew this is my last year. And I finished that course in October, and I was just basically practicing with students in terms of, like, I'd be coaching in my break times after school, all for free.
Perfect situation, really.
Yeah, that's the thing with teaching. Like, I wasn't at the point to leave, and teaching was obviously giving me a wage.
Yeah.
It was giving me loads of practice. And I was at the stage in my career then, I'd been teaching for 5 years, where, I knew the ropes. My school was actually really, really, my boss was chilled. Not saying I got away with anything, but, those schools are like book scrutinies and lesson walks, and it's all very pressured, and I didn't have that. I was getting results, nothing was going wrong. So basically, I knew the ropes by then, so I could kind of juggle it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think everyone should have a side hustle of some sort because it teaches you different skills.
Yeah.
I know the teaching is like, don't be wrong, unbelievably busy and tiring. But like, you know, Rob, you're doing this as a side hustle.
Yes,
right?
Squeezing it in that summer holiday.
Yeah, you know, this is what I mean. Like, you know, you're learning new skills and even how to edit, and you know, it's all good. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was that. And then, like I said, I made that decision already in September 17. That this was my last year, and I told everyone, I think in like February, March, that I was leaving.
That's okay. And then, so when that academic year ended, which must have been, when does it end? July.
Yeah.
You felt ready to just go for it. You were kind of, did you feel like you were in the deep end? Did you feel like secure? Did you feel?
Well, okay, so I genuinely believe when people say you know, now's not a good time, there's never a good time.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the but. It was a good time for me. I was 27 years old. I was single. I was renting an apartment or a flat. So it was the right time. I had no responsibilities. You know, I had no kids, wife, mortgage, like whatever. I'd sold a program. I'd sold a couple of sessions for 40 quid. So the first time I got a 40 quid sale for a coaching session, I was like, oh my god,
that must have felt good.
It did feel good.
Was that while you were teaching?
Yeah. So I was starting to make money off it when I was teaching, and I sold a package for 600 quid.
Whoa.
Which is quite cool, man.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, looking back, it's good to see. And I remember the money coming into my bank account in my classroom. So I was like, oh my god, like, because the problem with teaching is it's not a problem. Like, you know, you're not exposed to other stuff. Like, I think, you know, you're like me. You went straight into it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, same. Like, so, you know, to get someone paying you money for your business was very, very weird and surreal. And it took me a long time to understand money. So yeah, I'd made a sale, but I was big on just, I'm gonna quit. I just had this like, I don't know what it was. It's like an innate understanding that I'll make it work.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna make it work because I nearly didn't, because I was getting a supply teaching job. December 2018. I left in July 2018. By December, I'm back trying to get supply teaching jobs. I got no money.
Just literally to pay the bills at that point.
I was screwed.
But you backed yourself and you've done it and it's paid off. So that's cool.
Yeah, but that's the business isn't easy. Sorry, business is easy. What isn't easy is like the wanting to quit all the time, and that's all you need to do. It's just the people that make it or don't are the people that just have that blind determination on what they're doing and like that laser focus. Yeah. If you're laser focused on what you're doing, then you're fine.
I feel like self-employment would intimidate people because there's something quite nice about getting your wage mailed to you in the post every month, and so was there a lot of admin around that? Probably quite a boring question, but did you just work it out? Was that a big problem?
Yeah, I mean, like, I wasn't making any money. So anyway, I went into a school to do supply teaching.
Yeah. Did
that for a bit, and then this is the other thing. My mentor told me, American lady, go and get a jab. I'm like, my ego was like, ugh. I've just left teaching. She wants me to go and get a job. Here's the thing. My mental health was bad again because I wasn't making any money. Mm. When you're not making money, you live in a place of fear. When you live in a place of fear, you can't create or help anyone. So I had to go and get a job to give me some sort of stability. That school then employed me to coach their PP, looked after children, and that was the first little breakthrough. Because I was working with students, again, PP kids, stereotypically, a little bit more challenging backgrounds. For me, they were the students, the top. I think there were 5 to 10 students, the worst performing PP students in year 11. So drugs, self-harm, gang, you know, it was tough. But that was when I really saw like the social change as well. So these are the kind of kids I want to work with. So it gave me a bit of stability. And then I was able to then train people because I had this sort of base layer. But it's not for everyone. Like if you hate uncertainty, if you hate fear, then it isn't for you. You know, if you love growing and having more time, money, and freedom, then it is for you. But you gotta embrace the rough with the smooth because it ain't easy. And if you just want to have a pay packet, then like, I don't blame you for that because it's tough.
Yeah.
But it's what your lifestyle is, you know, it's what you want to do.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess as a teacher myself, I can find it frustrating when there are kids who need a breakthrough and it's so obvious that they need something like coaching or some kind of help. And as a classroom teacher, you just don't have the scope to have those conversations with them. Was it quite? Was it really rewarding? Those 5 kids, like your first 5 kids that you kind of coached, did they have breakthroughs?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because those kids, like, you know, the school didn't employ me at that moment to help them with their GCSEs. Their GCSEs were coming up, but you know, there was more to give them some life skills and some awareness about what they could do next year. Again, the traditional approach is counselling. These kids hate school. They've hated it, you know, probably since they were in year 1.
Yeah.
Like, and their backgrounds have been great. I get that. So if I was to say, you know, counsel them and look at the past lots, it's not going to help them. What is going to help them is like right now, present moment. What can we do to help your future? And that's kind of what we worked on.
Yeah.
But I've had some amazing students. You know, like there's always one guy that probably about 18 months ago. He's now a great friend and a kind of a colleague as well. But he was 14 when I worked with him. And I went to a guy to imagine a coffee shop, pre-COVID, and the family turned up. I was doing a coaching session with the kid, and weirdly, like both mum and dad turned up, which doesn't really happen. Like 90% of the time, it's mum. Yeah, guy sits down, and the mum and dad go to another part of the shop, and I go and speak to them, and they're both like seriously emotional. And the dad looks me dead in the eye and says, "We've got something to tell you." I'm like, okay. We had to rescue Jamie from top of a bridge in Milton Keynes because he was about to take his own life this morning. Right, I'm working with the guy now, like first session. And it was a massive, it was a huge moment. I was like, oh my, like, wow, like obviously very, very sad and upsetting. Grateful he didn't take that decision. And I don't know what it must be like for a parent to find your child on top of a bridge. Anyway, so I went and coached him. And we didn't say anything for about 10 minutes. Just kind of sat there, and then we did some great work on forgiveness, like forgiveness of himself and others. Until you forgive, right, you can't accept.
Yeah.
So we asked some questions, he forgave, we did some great forgiveness. I never hugged a student, but I hugged him, we cried together. And then I took him through the program, which is the 3 Bs, Boost, Believe and Breakthrough. And he just went from strength to strength. He was a school refuser as well. So he started going back into school, getting an education. He's now got like an inspirational Instagram account called The Only Way Is Up. He does loads of talks for me. And in London, he gave a talk in February 2020 with like 60 people in the room. Got up, smashed this talk out of the park. Everyone was in tears, but it was really powerful.
Yeah.
My mum and dad had never come to any of my events because I didn't want them to, but they came to that one. And my mum pulled me inside at the end and she said, like, if the business fails tomorrow, it's been successful for that one kid, that one student. And yeah, he's awesome. Like he always steals my thunder at events because he always comes on and just smashes his talk. But it's what people remember, you know. They remember that story. And why coaching helped him and how it helped him. You know?
That's so incredible for him to have had that.
Yeah, well,
breakthrough.
Yeah, it was that's always the highlight. Like, and I always say, like, if it did fail tomorrow and had to go back into teaching, which I wouldn't mind because I do really miss it. Yeah, it's been a success because of that.
Well, so and I feel like this podcast is supposed to kind of promote where a career in teaching can take you, and I think sometimes teachers might think once you're in teaching, there's nowhere you can go, or they might feel sad to give up those connections that they have with students. But I guess what you're showing is that you can move out of teaching and you can still have those connections. You can still have that buy-in. You can still serve in some way, and I think that's really cool. I think that's really commendable.
Well, for me, I'd never be able to leave and not work with students. Like after that coaching experience, I was like, oh my god, I love education. Like I've got to work with kids. So I could never quit and just do another job. Like for me, it was. I remember sitting in a park though. You can't. My old man used to say to me in the car, like, one day you'll have an idea, a business idea, and it'll change the world. I was like, yeah, but I want the idea now. But you can't force the idea. I remember sitting in a park in Milton Keynes where I was living at the time, writing down in my journal like business ideas and education, like, from tutoring to forest schools to sports coaching, whatever. But the moment will come, and like I said, when it comes, you either run with it or you don't. But for me, I had to still be working with young people. It was so important. Like, it's my values. Like, my values are education.
I guess the flip side of that is maybe, and now you're doing something that's way more meaningful, way more specific to you, whereas a mainstream classroom could potentially feel, I don't know, frustrating once you've had that specific impact. What advice might you have for teachers sort of in a similar situation? They have either they're not happy or they actually have an idea that comes to them.
Well, first, if you're not happy, get out of the classroom. Like, that's my advice, because, you know, and I know that you might be listening to this and think, well, oh, yeah, it's all right for you saying that, but seriously, like, what's the point of spending all that time being unhappy? And also, what's the impact on the students? Like, I've met lots of teachers when I train them, some voluntary and some not, and you know, some teachers are like, why are you here? And I know the answer will be, well, I don't know what else to do. But like, life's short. Like, don't go to be in that job if you're not all in. Like, if you're not all in, then like, don't be there. Like, go and do something else. Take responsibility, because you've only got one life. So you're doing a disservice to the students as well.
Yeah.
So my argument is, if you don't like it,
get out.
Find something you want to do. Because there are different things, like you can, there's a great group, you know, there's loads of Facebook groups on leaving teaching who have got great ideas, you know, for different careers, different things you can do. So that'd be my one suggestion if you're not enjoying it.
I think also, just to interject, like,
Sure.
you as a teacher, you're probably you probably have quite a good skill set to become a coach as well, if like that's quite a...
Well, my big aim is to, so at the moment we're training people, and the aim is to just have those people, so employ student breakthrough coaches in schools, but they're employed by us, not the school. They wear t-shirts, we call them by their first name, they coach teachers, they coach kids, they help parents, and they're in there full time.
Do they teach? Oh, so they're full time?
No, yeah, we've got a pilot coming up where one of our teams is going to be employed in a school.
That's exciting.
So that's the long-term vision, because you know, it's preventative. And it, by the way, this mat is huge. It's like 32 schools. So touch wood, we get something going with that.
Yeah.
So that's the aim. If I can, like, those teachers that still want to work in education, get decent money, but also give back to mental health, you know, that's where I want to take it. So the other part you asked was, if you've got an idea, and I generally believe everyone should have a side hustle of some sort. Like, this is a great example of a side hustle, Rob. Like we said earlier, like, you're learning how to interview people, you're learning how to edit, you're learning how to put a podcast up. This podcast is going to help other people, and who knows where this is going to go?
Who knows?
Right? You could be the next Joe Rogan, right? Like,
maybe, that's a dream.
But that's what I mean. Like, you just got to start and do something. And if you've got the idea, you don't need people have this idea of perfection. My brother's starting his business. Hopefully he listens to this, because he had the idea of, I need everything perfect before I start.
Yeah. I'm
like, you don't. Like, make a Facebook page, make an Instagram, and just start putting some content out there.
Yeah.
Like, that is easy and straightforward. Like, content is, it sounds a bit cringe, content is king. And all you need is an Instagram account that's free, a Facebook account that's free, make a group, start putting some stuff out there and start growing it. Because if you've got a great idea and you don't do anything with it, you're doing a disservice to the world.
I agree with that.
100%. Like, you're mugging people off, because your idea should be shared.
Yeah. Okay, changing the focus now to actual students.
Yep.
Or, I don't know, young people who haven't yet started a career. Would you recommend teacher training, honestly, would you recommend teacher training to like a student who was thinking about it? If they were looking at, so I went through Teach First, for example, if they were looking at Teach First or like another training provider, would you recommend it if they had no ideas?
Yes.
Why?
Because, like any job, again, can I swear on this podcast?
I might beep it.
Okay, like any job, right, anything you do, there's a shit sandwich to eat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, anything you do, like, professional footballer on 400 grand a week, shit sandwich, maybe he has to travel lots and can't see his family.
I think it'd be an awful lifestyle.
There you go.
Footballer, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely worse jobs, but like, I can understand.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying here is that teaching gets a bad rep. Like, I'm going to be upfront and honest, it's underpaid. There's loads of stuff I don't agree with. But you know what, if you're passionate, and that moment where you help that student, you get that, I'm sure you must have had it when you left this summer, you get those like lovely cards and letters. Like, I've still got them like framed on my wall. Like, lots of the stuff I've got, I keep and I look at, and it's, you know, for those moments, it's an unbelievable job.
Yeah. And
it gave me, it got me to where I am now. And that's what I mean, like, if you listen to this and again you're like unsure, whatever job you go into, whatever job you go into, there's going to be stuff that you don't like. Now, for me, the stuff I didn't like was, the usual stuff, marking data, parents' evenings, etc. But it's a fantastic job. Like, it is amazing. And watching people grow and learn, and you can have like the biggest impact in someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'd say, like, if you're interested, go check it out. Like, go and do it.
Yeah.
Because like we've said all along, if you have the mindset that it's not forever. Now, experienced teachers would get annoyed with me for that, because people leaving the profession is huge. I think it's like 84%
Yeah,
of teachers leave. But you don't have to have the mindset, I'm going to go into teaching, I'm going to learn some skills, maybe create a side hustle on the side, and see where I go. Like, you don't have to end up as some like old head teacher, right? You can, there's other avenues. But if you love giving, contributing, working with young people, seeing change, transforming lives, then it's the job for you.
100%. I've got a bit of a deep question for you now.
Go for it.
Do you feel now you're at a place to reflect on missing out on the army? That was obviously a big trauma. Do you feel like you're at a position where you can see that as meant to be?
Mate, 100%.
Okay.
Like, I'm beyond grateful to have Crohn's disease. I'm beyond grateful not to be a soldier. It took a long time to get that point. Now, all the work I've done on myself, all the coaching, inner work, personal development, I can bounce back. Like, failure is a blessing. I always share with students, right? What can I learn from this? How can I use this knowledge? Like, engage with the failure. But in my early 20s, I didn't. I was like beating myself up. So it probably took that coaching conversation in 2015 to realise that was a massive lesson.
Yeah.
Huge. And I literally, it's funny how, I always say that everything is always on the way. Nothing is ever in the way. Right? So everything is meant for you, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
Because there's gifts and opportunities in everything. And that's why, like, if you've got the urge to become a teacher, like, you don't know where life can take you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And again, like we said, with disservice, if you've got an idea, you're doing a disservice. If you're interested in education, you don't do it. You're doing a disservice to that child that wants to learn your subject. And it's amazing, isn't it, when students come up to you and you say, like, I really love that lesson, or I always up and I said, you're my favourite teacher. Or when
what does that feel like?
Oh yeah, what does that feel like? Or when they would like go to university and do history because of you.
Yeah. Does that happen?
Yeah, that's been loads, man. Like, all the students taking my subject. I know, because also obviously they have to do it, which has always got its own challenges. For me, most of them kind of chose it, or some of them had to.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really inspirational. Yeah, and I miss that so much. I miss teaching history. I love it, and I miss being in the classroom. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, I think final question for me is, what is next for you? What's next for Student Breakthrough? What does the future hold for you?
Great question. So, like I said earlier, my big aim is to revolutionise emotional support and create lasting change. So it's to employ one of our team in a school full time, right, as a pilot, which hopefully we've got coming up, and just keep growing that and growing that and growing that. This Matt that we work with, or hopefully working with, they want to be known as the Wellbeing Trust, right? So wellbeing is their priority, and we're going to be running that, which is super exciting. So one thing would be to employ my team in a school full time, and then for me personally, like, I want to go into, I want to create training centres in like India, Africa, Southeast Asia, wherever, right, where we can actually then train others in coaching, but maybe have these training hubs, student breakthrough training hubs, where people can come and learn and coach and run events and stuff. So
world domination is the
world domination, like, but that's not from ego. That's just world domination in terms of like, this stuff works, like, and I know it works, and I believe in this. I believe in myself. I believe in student breakthrough, and yeah, I just want to impact as many people as possible.
Yeah, and
also be known for someone that's changed things. Like someone that had an idea and. I pinch myself to see where it's come. It's 3 years, like 3 years of hard work have got me to this point. Yeah. And I'm not stopping.
Cool. Okay, thank you so much. Like, you've been such an amazing guest. I've really enjoyed the whole conversation. I've learned a lot, and just thank you so much. Really appreciate it. If people out there want to find you, where can they go? Yeah,
great. Thank you so much. And by the way, I've loved this, and I think you're doing a great thing here. So thank you for having me.
No worries.
Yeah, you can connect with me, which is studentbreakthrough.com. is the website. Go and check that out. LinkedIn, I'm Sam Moinet, Moinet, dodgy French surname. And then on Instagram and Facebook, it's at Student Breakthrough. But give us a follow, give us a like. And if you're interested in learning how to coach, if you want to leave teaching, you want any advice, do reach out. I'm all about helping and giving and contributing. So yeah, do reach out. But yeah, thank you, Rob. It's been awesome.
No worries. I'll put all the links in the description below, so just look down there.
Cool.
All right, nice one.